You're listening to Feel Good Astrology with Louisa Tanner Munson. To request a personal reading with Louisa, go to www.feelgoodastrology.com.
Hi, it's Louisa Tanner Munson from feelgoodastrology.com, and I'd like to welcome you to this podcast about the North Node in Cancer and some of the aspects that it's going to be making during its transit in Cancer and the South Node's transit in Capricorn. Because there's a few things that do worry me a little bit, I'll be honest. And you have to forgive me because I've got my little notebook in front of me, so I can pick up all the dates. But the thing that really kind of worries me is the current position of Pluto, the future position of Saturn and the North Node, and how they're going to be interacting during the North Node's transit through Cancer. So let's just quickly, first of all, understand who the key players in this podcast are. So I'm just getting a bit comfortable. So the first one is the North Node. The North Node represents our karmic direction we're going in as a collective and also as people on an individual level. So it shows what we're going to struggle to achieve, but what we must achieve to become more well-rounded, grounded people and to continue to live and thrive on planet Earth. You know, there's a purpose to the North Node. The North Node is to keep the procession of life moving. So it's important. The South Node is the thing that represents where we're coming from karmically. So it represents the direction we're moving away from. And it's a great indicator of what we've already achieved. Yeah, and where we've got some competence, but where those patterns are just outdated and where we need to consider letting go of things. So again, it's another really important point. And the North Node is going into Cancer in November 2018, and it'll be there until pretty much the end of May 2020. So we've got a good 18-month run of this time in Cancer. And I'm not going to sort of really describe too much what it means because I've done a separate podcast for that. So look out for that podcast. But it also means the South Node is in Capricorn, and there's a lot going on in Capricorn at the moment. The Capricorn is the traditional sign that represents the 10th house. It shows achievement, attainment, status, finances, reputation, having control. It represents paternity, paternalism. It shows authority and permission and what we can and can't ask for and our relationships to those concepts. Capricorn is ruled by the sign of Saturn, and Saturn is a planet to do with authority and ruling, and Saturn is much happier when things are clean and clear and involve rules and regulations. And Saturn can really dehumanize things because Saturn seeks to create structures. If you think about your bone system, your nerve system, everything in your body is based on a structure. Life is based on a structure, and Saturn is very happy to take full responsibility for all those structures. Saturn wants the control of everything, and seeks to control things. Saturn is a really big player and can be a real pain in the butt when we look at the position of Saturn in our birth charts. It often represents where some of our hardest lessons are earned and learnt. Our own responses and reflection of Saturn in our charts shows just how comfortable we are with accepting other people's responsibility, because Saturn is about responsibility. So, Saturn thinks only his responsibility is the one that we should listen to. So when you're looking at birth charts, when somebody's got a very, very strong Saturn theme, they are self-managed and they're very happy to help manage other people along the way who struggle with that. So that's all going on with this Capricorn theme of excellence and being in charge and being right. There's a lovely phrase. I don't know where it originated from, but my husband taught it to me when I first met him. And it says, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? Saturn wants to be right. And traditionally, the sign of Capricorn wants to be right at all costs. So the South Node, which is showing where we're coming from and what we're moving away from, is government's authority, paternalism, authority figures in our life. This is a time when we're not supposed to take other people's responsibility and dictates and controls and mandates and rules that incapacitate us or rules that dehumanize us. This is a time when we need to be standing strong and realizing that we can all be our own parent. We can all be our own authority. We can all self-discipline. We can all regulate and manage our lives and create our own structures. So this is a great waking up opportunity where we're being moved in the direction of the North Node into the sign of Cancer, back into the heart and home, but coming from the perspective that we've learned that governments can be useful. We've learned that businesses can be useful. We've learned that charities can be useful, that organisations can be useful. So we've learned a lot of things about structure along the way. And we've also learned where structure doesn't serve us. So the main karmic direction we're going in at the moment is to accept the benefits of structure and responsibility and management and self-realization from those perspectives, but apply them to our own personal lives and our own personal home. So I've mentioned the North Node, the South Node, Capricorn and Cancer, and Saturn. Haven't mentioned Pluto. Now, Pluto, you might be wondering, why is she mentioning Pluto? Pluto has been in the sign of Capricorn for a long time. So long that I can't just bring up the date off the top of my head, but we're talking a long time. Crikey. I don't know. I will post the dates when I finish recording this. But Saturn is approximately right now is about 19 degrees in the sign of Capricorn, and Saturn has made inroads. It's not Saturn, sorry, Pluto. Pluto is the planet to do with transformation, but it's not kind of easy to manage transformation. This is total transformation brought about through annihilation or brought about through complete destruction and collapse. Pluto or Hades, those kind of archetypes. It's about rising from the ashes. So it's about complete collapse and calamity and destruction and learning from it and becoming graceful because of it. And anyone that has been through a total collapse and come out the other end will probably recognize that they are more yielding and more graceful because of it, and probably more humble, and their life perspective has changed in such a huge way that they are a different person. Well, that's the whole idea of Pluto in our charts. Pluto is a transformer. And whilst many people will see Pluto as a pantomime baddie and go boo, hiss when he walks onto stage, when a Pluto transit comes up in our charts, we need to listen, because it's our opportunity to transcend and transform and rise above things. And it doesn't often involve a bit of collapse. But Pluto is in Capricorn. It's almost 2/3 of the way through. And during that time, the Capricorn energy of banking, of insurance, of governments, of energy companies, of military complexes, of pharmaceuticals, all of those big agendas and big organizations have really stepped into their power during the time that Pluto's been going through them. Pluto is tyrannical. Pluto is dictatorial. Dictators have very strong Plutos and Saturns in their charts. So this energy has been building and building and building, and all of those organizations that have that Capricorn feel to them, i.e. all the ones I've just mentioned, have been strengthening through consolidating their power and making their power total and complete, making it very difficult for the likes of you and I, and I'm not trying to rebel rouse or anything like that, just trying to describe what I see astrologically. So there has been this influx of extra power and fear, because Pluto and Saturn are both associated with fear too, because from that fear comes the need for security, and from that need for security comes the application of useful rules to follow. When you follow the rules, you'll be safe. It's not unlike growing up with quite strict parents. So our world has become more controlled since Pluto has been in Capricorn, and as of December last year, December the 20th, 2017, Saturn joined Pluto in the sign of Capricorn. And as of this year, has been largely been between 6 and 2 degrees of Capricorn. So Saturn has moved forwards a little bit. It's made a bit of progress and has taken a back step. Okay, so Saturn is in the early stages of Capricorn. Now, during the North Node's transit through Cancer, the South Node, representing what we're moving away from, is going to reverse all the way through Capricorn. It's going to be making an aspect with Pluto in Capricorn, and also making an aspect with Saturn in Capricorn. And during that time, what we're trying to move away from is matching up with the energy of control and domination. Can you see where I'm going with this yet? So what I'm seeing in this 18-month period is, whilst the North Node is saying to us, we need to get heart-centered, we need to be all meditative, connecting to people. But whilst that's happening, the South Node, that's representing what we need to let go of, is going to reach its highest level of resistance ever. Because the two planets in the solar system that you can bet your bottom dollar are not going to relinquish control are, wait for it, Saturn and Pluto in the sign of Capricorn. And that wouldn't be so bad if the South Node was going to hit Pluto first and then hit Saturn after. When in actual fact, what's happening is the South Node, is going into aspect with Pluto. It's moving into opposition with Pluto from December 2018. It's going into a full opposition with Pluto between the 28th and 31st of March. And it's going to be still in opposition to Pluto. This is the North Node. It's going to be opposing Pluto still by the end of July. So from the beginning of December 2018 until the end of July 2019, our North Node showing where we want to be and how people are going to be expressing themselves, i.e. moving back into the home, moving away from big business, saying, you know what, I don't want to sign up with this government or this energy company. I want something different. I want to create my own energy. I want to be sovereign. All those things, that the movements that people are going to be making, the choices they're going to be making, are going to be in direct opposition to the thing that we're supposed to be letting go of. And Pluto in Capricorn is going to be saying, hang on a minute, you can't do that. It's not in the rules. During that time, from February, the North Node is also going into opposition with Saturn. It's in exact opposition to Saturn around the 6th of May up until it's pretty much in opposition with Saturn until the end of September. And then finally it's out of opposition by the 13th of December 2019. So there's an overlap between when the North Node is in opposition to both Saturn and Pluto. And that overlap is really happening around May time, April, May. From the beginning of April right the way through May, things are going to be very intense. The South Node, what we're trying to let go of, is going to be held in place by Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn. And it doesn't surprise me, actually, that Brexit is going on at the moment. I say in the UK, but actually it's not in the UK. It's everywhere. Like Brexit, the idea of the UK leaving the European Union is occurring at the time, at one of the strongest karmic nodal times of big business and big government resistance. This is huge. And this is going to be relating to every individual. This isn't just about a collective response to how the world is moving. This is a response to all of us personally. How willing are we all going to be to adapt and let go of authority? Because what you probably don't realize is we are all authoritarians and tyrannical in our own ways. There are certain generations that are going to really find it hard, like the generations that have already got their resources in place. So, for instance, newly retired people who own their own houses and have a nice little nest egg and can afford to go on holiday 3 times a year somewhere really fancy and have got all their healthcare paid for, they're going to have a very, very different response to what's going on than, say, people that don't have any of that security, because the people that don't have the security are going to be quite happy to go back into the home and to embrace change and to embrace the heart and to embrace sharing, whilst those people that who feel threatened by the fact that things are being challenged and systems are being challenged, because that's what this North Node thing is about. It's about systems being challenged. They're going to feel very, very resistant and are going to probably put up a big fight. So this is something that I think we should all just get some popcorn, sit back and watch it happen. I don't mean to sound unloving or uncaring, but what I would really recommend to people is that they try to let go of the controls in their lives and just try to be really easygoing, because the structures are coming down. Karmically, people want to be responsible for themselves. People really are starting to move into that space of responsibility and thinking, you know what, I can do it much better than you guys, and I can do it for a fraction of the price. And if we all stick together at a local level, we can probably really make a difference. People want to use their brains and they want to actually start reconnecting. And, this is what's going on. So hopefully that's useful to you. I would be very wary of doing anything that takes you back into the business world or makes you need to adopt structures in a huge way. Like the internet is a structure, and the internet is supposed to really create freedom for people. And if you look at the way it's been controlled right now, it's getting more and more controlled, and all of our information is the public domain, and there's no privacy. And, so these are the themes that are going on. And that's just with the aspects of the South Node, Pluto and Saturn in Capricorn versus the North Node in Cancer. But there are lots and lots of other aspects that the North Node is going to be making. So stay tuned for the update where I talk more about the square to Uranus, the trine to Jupiter, the trine to Chiron, and then the exact opposition of Jupiter and also Mars. So there's a lot going on, a lot for us to talk about. Anyway, in the meantime, if you need anything, drop me a line, louisa@feelgoodastrology.com. Speak to you soon. Thank you very much for listening.
You've been listening to Feel Good Astrology with Louisa Tanner Munson, and this recording has been made possible by all you lovely supporters at Patreon. To request a personal reading with Louisa, go to www.feelgoodastrology.com.